Hello and welcome, and at long last we have the last episode of Historical Austria. When we last left, Austria had just been split into 4 occupation zones by the Allies after the Second World War. According to the Allies, they have liberated Austria, even though they had an active role in helping Germany in the war and being an integral part of Nazi Germany. This meant while the Allied called Austria liberated, it was treated as it was under occupation and divided into occupation zones by the US, France, the UK and the USSR, and a special zone for Vienna. The Soviets did not share the rest of the Allies' views of Austria as a victim, which led to the leadership mostly turning a blind eye to the pillaging, and gave very little aid to the nation and did little to endear themselves with the local population. The Western Allies' main reason for supporting Austria quite a bit after the war was because they held a vital position in Europe as a gateway between the Eastern and Western Bloc, and the friendliness to Austria combined with the Soviets' enmity ensured which side Austria would fall in the conflict. But occupation soon became more nominal as the Western Ally relinquished most of the power to Vienna, and the Soviets did not press theirs. First elections, the Christian Socials, now much more secular and renamed the Austrian People Party, or APA, won with around 50% of the vote, with the Socialists, or SPÖ, former Social Democrats, coming a close second, and they formed a coalition government. The two cooperating parties, while not trusting each other or having the same goal, still cooperated, with divisions of labor with the APA working more with corporate interest and agriculture and larger businesses, while SPÖ worked on creating labor unions. But they were united in one thing: the Austrian identity and its separation from Germany, then expelling many of Austria's Germans. But still many held anti-Semitic sentiment, with Jews being actively discouraged to return to Austria after the war. They also tried to play up the victim angle, started by the Western Allies, to try to not receive war reparations, while also wanting to end occupation, which was achieved in 10 years after the war, when the Soviets agreed to stop because of their new leader, Nikita Khrushchev, decided to normalize relations with the West. Austria, now a neutral nation, while having suffered some economic hardship and rampant inflation, had a good position to expand their economy as a bridge between communism and capitalism. The coalition between SPÖ and APA continued since they both needed each other to have a majority, and the other significant party was the so-called Freedom Party, which was for the most part a coalition of Nazi interests. Austria flourished after the occupation, with large focus on tourism, large investment, and working with West Germany. But it also had a darker side, as most former Nazis were well integrated back into society, while Jews were not. Tourism boom also made Austria shape its perception to the outside world, from Viennese high culture to the more rural Alps. But the cooperation between the Socialist and the People's Party was at its limits by the mid-60s, and new compromises were few and far between, and it no longer had any common ground to tread, which led to the People's Party managing to take full control in 1964. While they liberalized the economy, they also expanded education, especially at the university level. But this was not enough, as Socialists won 2 elections in a row afterwards. But Socialists under Bruno Kerensky did not have an absolute majority, and thus could not push through their budget, thus having a re-election where they got one. Austria saw continued economic stability, which resulted in a lot of investment, which led to more economic stability. But the SPÖ most likely kept the more radical part of the ideology to be formed by the labor unions, and were careful to preserve some of APA's influence. Liberal reforms were also pushed, such as laws enforcing gender equality, and the decriminalization of homosexuality and adultery was enacted. Austria also played a part as a mediator between the East and West, well benefiting from relation with both, even becoming one of 3 seats for the UN. Austria also took interest in the Middle East at this time, trying to achieve peace between Israel and the Arab nation and benefit from the region's natural resources. But during the 80s, the economy started to get worse, partly because of party infighting, leading to many starting to doubt Kerensky, and SPÖ, leading to them losing their majority and Kerensky resigning, leading to a collision with FPR, who had now turned away from the Nazi past and become centrist. The next election, People's Party regained power and started enacting more right-wing policies, followed by a huge gain by the FPR the next election, leading to a new coalition government. Soviet collapse was imminent. Austria started to increase relation with former Habsburg countries, drawing on the common past, but this was abruptly stopped when a fear of cheap immigration of labor took over. But the collapse of the Soviet Union also resulted in Austrian loss of power, since they no longer could play the sides of the Cold War against each other. The economy was still doing well, and they soon joined the EU. The coalition government also made many unsatisfied, as they felt it was undemocratic, since they got the same policies whomever they voted for. This, along with the dissatisfaction with immigration from a crumbling Yugoslavia and the former Soviet Union, left many to vote for FPR. By the turn of the century, the stalemate was ended when FPR exchanged their current coalition for one with the now larger FPR. This led to many neoliberal policies and the dismantling of many welfare programs and privatization. Since then, the government has switched between SPR and ÖPA-led governments. But that will be it for Austria. Hope to see you next time for the history of Azerbaijan.